Bienvenidos! Welcome everyone to Dairy World Tour episode 4. My name's Ann Lakuta. I'm one of the health and wellness managers with Dairy West, and I'm your Dairy World Tour host. And today we are venturing together to Brazil, and we're going to learn all about the Brazilian culture and cuisine from our two wonderful guest speakers today, whom you're going to love. We have chef and author Leticia Moreinos Schwartz joining us as our episode culinary expert. And Chef Leticia is author of 3 cookbooks, one of which will be in the gift box that we're raffling off at the end of the episode. So stay on until the end if you want a chance to win that. Chef Leticia, among many other things, is also a TV ambassador, and she was television correspondent to NBC Universal in the Rio 2016 Olympics. And then we also have Aryane Mendes Andrade Oar joining us today as our nutrition expert. And Aryane is a registered dietitian nutritionist. She's based out of Salt Lake City and practices nutrition counseling with Positive Nutrition. She's an expert in intuitive eating, and she just got back a couple of days ago from a family vacation to Brazil. So Aryane has some boots on the ground experiences and fun to share with us today from that trip. So before we pass it off to Leticia and Aryane and we hear much more from them about their stories and about Brazil, I do have just a few housekeeping items to share with everyone to make sure your experience today is as close to perfect as it can be. So everyone should have received last week their Brazil product box. So once again, you got a really fun array of dairy products that are utilized in the recipes and the recipe cards that you received. And so starting from the upper left-hand corner, everyone should have received Cache Valley mozzarella cheese, which is used in your pão de gallo recipe. And this is otherwise known as Brazilian cheese bread. And then you also received 2% shelf-stable milk from the creamery, and that's used in your arroz piamentes recipe. You also received Meadow Gold sweetened condensed milk, which was used in 2 recipes. That was included in the Brigadeiro recipe, or chocolate truffles, as well as your Brazilian lemonade. And then lastly, included in the box, we had Lighthouse Simply Artisan Feta cheese crumbles, and those are an ingredient in the orange salad with queso blanco. So hopefully if you haven't dug into the ingredients yet, you're ready to cook along some recipes today. We would love to see the photos that you're taking of your experience. We've heard from some of you doing family and friend cooking nights that are Dairy World Tour themed. So take your photos, share them on social media, and make sure to use the hashtag Dairy World Tour. All right, so halfway through the episode, Chef Leticia is going to do her cooking demo. So the featured recipe for today is the orange salad with queso blanco. And then she is also doing a bonus demo of the Brazilian lemonade. And you guys, both of these recipes are fantastic. I already made my Brazilian lemonade ahead of time so I can enjoy it during the episode. So if you're cooking along, there were a couple of prep steps that we sent out, not many, they were pretty easy this time, but just make sure to have your ingredients ready to go and measured, as well as any kitchen utensils or cooking tools that you'll be using for the recipes. So we're gonna actually pop those prep steps into the chat. And then we're also going to include the links to the recipes. So if you want to access the recipes online, they're all on our unbottled.com website, and you can reference them there. So speaking of the chat, let's all go ahead and take a look at it together. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can open up your chat box, which should show up on the right. And this is where we want you to engage with each other and engage with the presenters throughout the episode. So some people are already putting where they're joining from, so feel free to tell us what your name is, where you're joining from. Go ahead and share your stories about Brazil if you'd like to. And then also any questions you have for the presenters can pop into the chat as well. We're going to be monitoring them throughout the episode and collecting them. And then we have time for Q&A at the end of the episode. So we'll be able to ask all of your questions to Aryane and Leticia. And then during Leticia's demo, if you have questions about what she's doing, or if you need any clarity on instructions, I'm going to be monitoring those live. And so for the demo, I'll ask your questions in the moment. So if you need any help with anything that she's doing, if you're cooking along, we can get you help right away with that. All right, you guys. Oh, look at everyone joining. Lehigh, Utah, Harriman, Utah. That's awesome. Scottsdale, Arizona. So before we pass it off to Leticia and Aryane, we want to hear just a bit about you and your experience with Brazil. So we're going to put up a poll right now. We want everyone to tell us, have you visited Brazil before? Maybe you've been once, maybe you've been several times. If you've lived there, we would like to know that. Maybe you haven't gone, but it's on your bucket list. We'll give everyone 15 seconds or so to put in your answers. Oh, we got a lot of responses coming in, and we're going to share these results in just a minute here. Oh, wow. Okay, so just about 3 of you have been to Brazil before. One person once, one person multiple times, and one person's lived there. And then everyone else, it's on your bucket list. So I'm in that bucket list category as well too. We're gonna learn way more about the country today. So if we ever do get the chance to go there, we'll know where to visit and what foods we wanna try. But now let's get to the fun. Let's welcome Aryane and Chef Leticia to the stage. Thank you so much to both of you for joining today. We're so excited to have you. And per tradition with Dairy World Tour, we like to kick off these episodes by letting you really tell your story to the audience and letting them get to know you better through your own words. So Leticia, let's go ahead and start with you. And my question to you is, what does food mean to you, and how has your connection to Brazil impacted that meaning?
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. I'm so honored to be participating with the Dairy World Tour and the Dairy West. And it's been a pleasure to coordinate this with you. Welcome to everybody. Yes, do put the Brazil on the bucket list. You got to go there. It's an amazing country. And I was born and raised in Brazil. I moved here about 20 years ago because of food, because food has such a deep meaning into my life. I mean, it's hard to say that food is just one thing, because food means so much in so many ways. Like, food is medicine, food is love, Food is culture. Food is education. Food is chemistry. Food is math. Food is history. Food is culture. Food is economics. Food is social. Food is a connector. Food is entertaining. Food is health. Food is everything. And I made a life around food, and I teach cooking classes. I wrote 3 cookbooks. I don't know if you can see them here. Can you? Right? I wrote The Brazilian Kitchen. I wrote My Rio de Janeiro. That's my hometown. And I wrote Latin Superfoods. And food is also another topic that it's very dear to my heart. Is food waste. And just recently, I was able to participate in a Netflix show called Best Leftovers Ever. And they turned this topic of food waste into an entertaining food competition show. So if you are looking to binge on Netflix, go ahead and search for Best Leftovers Show. I am on episode 8, and it's a lot of fun. It's about turning foods that are leftovers into new recipes, and it's awesome. And today we're gonna make this Brazilian lemonade and orange salad. They are from my Latin Superfoods cookbook, so I can't wait to make the demo. And I'll pass it over to Aryane. She's an extraordinaire nutritionist from Minas Gerais, completely different, region of Brazil. And that's the thing about our country. It's just as big as the United States. And just like the US, if you go to California, it's a completely different culture, geography. Aryane and I are from different states, different regions. And tell us about Minas Gerais. Tell us about you, Aryane.
Yes, but we are neighbors, right? Neighbor states.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And I have some folks joining from Brazil, so a big hi for you all there, which is so exciting. All right, so I come from a family that just like loves to host parties and family gatherings. So food, delicious foods are always involved. It's a big part of it. And in fact, this actually reflects the Brazilian culture really well. And so that saying good food, good mood describes it really well. We love to get together. We love to socialize, and food is always a big part of it. And so answering the question, food means to me, memories, affection, care, joy, all these things. And Leticia can also say if I'm telling right, Leticia, like Brazilians love to share their meals. Like if someone knocks on your door, on a Brazilian's door, and we are in the middle of a meal or a snack or whatever, we just love to invite the person over to join us, spend some time and to share that meal together. So it is a big part of our culture. And, I just love to bring this to the work that I do as a dietitian. So I'm in private practice working with chronic dieters, eating disorders, disordered eating, and diabetes, PCOS, as well as general health and wellness. And so I just love to help my clients, develop positive, joyful relationship with food as well. So that's I just love how much I can bridge those two things,
Wonderful. You guys, your energy is palpable. I can't wait for this episode to kickstart. And I think now we can get into it. Aryane is going to start taking us on a virtual vacation, a virtual tour through Brazil.
Yes. All right, guys. So here, I just love this, just like the world map to show where Brazil is located and also to help you see where it is and introduce Brazil geographically. So Brazil is the largest country in Latin America, and it's the 5th largest country in the world. And just out of curiosity, so Brazil is a little bit larger than the continuous US. US just is ahead of us because of Alaska. And so it's the only country that speaks Portuguese in the Americas, and it's bounded by the Atlantic Ocean to the east, and it covers roughly half of South America's landmass and borders all countries in South America, except Ecuador and Chile. So here I have a map of Brazil specifically with all these states, and there are 26 states in Brazil and 1 federal district. So like Leticia mentioned earlier, so we are also a melting pot. So we have natives and also Portuguese, Africans, Italians, Germans, Japanese. Brazil is one of the world's most multicultural and ethnically diverse nations, due to over a century of mass immigration from around the world. Right, Leticia, as you mentioned?
Absolutely. What I find so interesting about Brazil is that we have a pact with culture. We were colonized by the Portuguese, and we are a mixture of 3 different influences, the Portuguese, the African, and the native Indian. And our culture is a mixture, a mesh of all these 3. But as you travel around Brazil, you will see one influence stronger than the other in different regions. So for example, in my state, in my region of the Southeast, and especially in Rio, it feels like you're in Portugal. You know, the architecture, the face of the people, the music. If you travel north to Bahia, for example, it feels like you're in Africa. You know, the smells, the baianas, the face of the people. And then if you travel even north to the Amazon, then it's all about the native Indian. You know, so I find that it's really interesting how, you know, at different places you see one influence stronger than the other.
Yeah, awesome. And so São Paulo, for example, is the most populated city in Brazil with over 12 million people. Just so you can compare, New York City has over 8 million people. So São Paulo is a really big city. And Brasilia is our capital. So here, what I decided to do, we're going to start our virtual tour in Brasilia. Let me show you guys with a blue star, so you can see how the tour is going to go. Okay, so we're going to start there at the capital city, and then we're going to go to the very north. So we're going to go to Amazonas, and then we're going to go off the northeast coast to visit some islands there, Fernando de Noronha, and then northeast, Bahia also in the northeast, and Minas Gerais is the state where I am from, and then Rio, as you can see, it's right next to Minas Gerais. That's where Leticia is from. And then São Paulo, Mato Grosso do Sul, Paraná, and Rio Grande do Sul. Okay? All right. So before we dive into the cities, I just like to mention, like going along with the comments that Leticia made, like how diverse Brazil is. And it's the same with nature over there. So this is just like to show you guys a little bit of the different Brazilian biomes. So just like the naturally occurring fauna and flora. So the big one that we see there, the blue area, so that's the Amazon. And as you can tell, it covers almost 50% of the Brazilian territory. It's a big one. And then in orange, we have the savanna, so Cerrado, and the lower vegetation favored intense livestock in agriculture in that area. And then in red, we have Pantanal, the tropical wetlands. It's about 2% of the Brazilian territory. And it's recognized as the largest continuous floodplain on the planet. And it's pretty cool. I have a picture to show you guys. In light green, we have in the northeast area, we have what is called Caatinga, which is pretty similar to a desert. It's semi-arid, very, very, very dry, okay? And then this purple area there, this is the Atlantic rainforest. So it's only about, a little bit over 10% of the Brazilian territory. And it's very interesting because it's occupied by more than 50% of the Brazilian population. So just to give you an overview of how the population is spread out throughout the country. And at the very south of Brazil, the area of Rio Grande do Sul state, that's the fertile lowlands, so pampas, right? It's very rainy with freezing temperatures in the winter. And just at the end of June, they had the very first snowfall of the season because it's winter there, right? Almost the end of the winter now, but they had their very first snowfall, which is pretty cool. All right, so we're gonna start in Brasilia, as I said. As you can see, it's very, very flat. Brasilia became the federal capital in 1960. And before Brasilia, it was Rio de Janeiro for almost 2 centuries. Brasilia is a planned city, distinguished by its white, modern architecture, chiefly designed by Oscar Niemeyer. If you are into architecture, you probably have heard his name, and also politics, because Niemeyer helped design the UN building. So it was a big deal. And the city is laid out in the shape of an airplane. So I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm gonna point it out to you so you can see. So here we have the wings of the airplane, and here we have the body of the airplane. Here is the cockpit. So it's pretty cool. And so at the cockpit, that's what we can find. One of the things that we can find, we find the 3 branches of government there, okay? And this is one of the buildings. So this is the Palace of the National Congress.
Aryane, can I just make a compliment to your
Absolutely.
comment?
Yes.
Yeah, what's interesting is that you were just saying Rio was the capital for about 200 years. Before that, it was Bahia when Brazil was first discovered. And Rio really excelled during this time of capital. And the government tried to change the capital to the interior of the country because all of the coast was a lot more developed. So they wanted to give a chance to the interior parts to be more developed as well. And unfortunately, it never happened. Selfishly, I almost wanted Rio to go back to being the capital again, But it's something interesting that the interior never really developed quite as the coast part.
Yeah, that's true. So the next one, so we're going to start from north to south, right? So this is in the state of Amazonas. And as you can tell, there are 2 big rivers here. So we have the Rio Negro, like with dark water. So that's the translation would be Black River. And then on the other side, more like, muddy, that's the Solimões, the river. And so Rio Solimões. So those 2 combine together. And that's how the Amazon River is born. And so as you can see, I'm going to show here, like it doesn't match, it doesn't mix, the waters don't mix right away. In fact, it's like that without mixing for almost 4 miles, which is pretty interesting. And it's one of the main tourist attractions in Manaus, the capital of the state of Amazonas. Very beautiful. And we also have in this area, we can also see the pink dolphins. I don't know if you guys have seen or have heard of those before, but very similar to regular dolphins, but they are in fresh water instead. And here a little bit of the state of Amazonas again. So Amazonas is the state with the largest indigenous population. So it's almost 170,000, quite a bit. So I don't know if you guys noticed at the bottom left, I put the map of Brazil with a star, just so you guys know like where we're at, okay? All right, so now we're gonna go off the northeast coast of Brazil. And this is just beautiful. It's amazing. It's these islands are called Fernando de Noronha. So that's the name of the city. And it's just like it's like the Brazilian Hawaii, you know, and it's a volcanic archipelago about 200 miles off the northeast coast, as I mentioned, and it's renowned for its undeveloped beaches and for scuba diving and snorkeling. Sea turtles, rays, dolphins, and reef sharks swim in its warm, clear waters. It's just amazing. Have you been there before, Leticia? No?
I haven't been to Fernando de
My
Noronha.
bucket list too.
Yes, it is. Well, that's the thing about Brazil. Brazil is so big that it's as a Brazilian, I don't know my entire country. You know, there's a lot of cities. It's impossible, exactly. A lot of cities on my bucket list.
Yeah, that's so true. So this next picture here, I made sure to put something like this just to show you guys how diverse it is, nature is over there. Okay, if you check the bottom left map, you're gonna see we're still in the northeast, but just like moving further inward, okay, inland. And then you're gonna see like it's very, very, as you can see, it's very, very dry. So the semi-arid tropical climate is the most prevalent in this area, with temperatures above 77 degrees Fahrenheit all year round, and low, very low rainfall. So during summer, there is some rain, but it can go up to 8 months without any rain. So it's interesting because Northeast, it's famous for its beaches, right? So the coast is beautiful. And then as you move further inland, it's just super, super dry like this. So very, very interesting. Okay, so this is the last slide about the Northeast, and especially Leticia mentioned Bahia. So I want to include something about Bahia as well. So here is Salvador, and in Bahia, just in general, it is known for its Afro-Brazilian culture, as the picture shows really, really well. All right, guys, so this next one here is Ouro Preto. So this is a city in my state of Minas Gerais, okay? So, and it's beautiful. It feels like we're going back in time. It's amazing. And so it's a colonial town in the mountains of eastern Brazil. It's known for its Baroque architecture, including bridges, fountains, and squares, and its steep, winding, cobbled streets. And it's interesting because these streets, these cobbled streets, they're made out of soapstone. And so it gets very slippery when it's wet. And there are several churches and chapels all over town, including the 18th century St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church. It's not the one depicted here, but the style is the same. And soapstone handicraft items are a common souvenir among tourists. So since I was there last week in Brazil, I didn't go to Ouro Preto, but I found a place near my hometown that had soapstone, I don't know if you guys can see it, soapstone pots. And I made sure to bring one. So this is gonna be included in the raffle box at the end. So yeah, it's so pretty with copper handles. So it's super cute. And make sure to stay tuned until the end of the episode to make sure that you're gonna have a chance to bring this home.
And every food that's cooked in that pot tastes a lot better.
Oh, good. That's true. Especially, well, this one that we have is a souvenir, so it's smaller. But traditionally, like feijoada, the Brazilian bean stew, is made in those pots, which is awesome. Okay, so this is Leticia's hometown, Rio de Janeiro. So here, as we can see, we have Christ the Redeemer and the Sugarloaf Mountain right here. Okay, so Rio is a huge seaside city in Brazil, and it's very famous for its Copacabana and Ipanema beaches, and also the Christ the Redeemer statue, which is 125 feet tall, and atop Mount Corcovado, and also famous for Sugarloaf Mountain. So it's a granite peak with cable cars to its summit. So it's so fun because you take these cable cars from here to go to this first mountain, and then a second one to go to the very tall one. And you have such a nice view of the bay and the city. It's just beautiful.
And those two are really the main tourist landscapes that you need to visit when you go to Rio. Like, it's like coming to New York and going to the Statue of Liberty, going to Paris and visit the Eiffel Tower. You need to go to the Christ the Redeemer and the Sugarloaf.
Yes, exactly. And the city is known for the Carnival Festival that is considered the world's largest, and features parade floats and flamboyant costumes and samba dancers, and also the favelas, right? Like the shanty towns that we know, like there are many there. So the next one. Okay, so this is São Paulo. São Paulo is a busy city. So it's Brazil's financial center, and it's among the world's most populous cities. Not only in Brazil, it's the most populous city in Brazil, but also one of the most populous cities worldwide. So it's alive 24/7. All right, so here, I have a few photos here to show you guys a little bit about Pantanal, so the tropical wetlands. As I mentioned, this is a biome, right? So it's not a city, but one of the biomes where animals that represent almost all Brazilian fauna can be found. It's beautiful, like all the variety. And I was just wondering, like, please make a comment if in the chat box if you guys have seen or have heard of tamanduá, which is this animal at the bottom right, very long face. It's an anteater, very different, and you can find it there in Pantanal. All right, and here we have Foz do Iguaçu in Paraná. So it's a city in the state of Paraná, and it's the main base for visiting famed Iguaçu Falls, one of the world's largest waterfalls. It is stretching for 1.7 miles and straddling the border with Argentina. The falls comprise 270 cascades. It's amazing. I've been there 4 years ago, and pictures, they don't describe it, how beautiful and amazing this place is. And it includes the Devil's Throat, which is 262 feet tall. It's pretty amazing. All right, and this is the last one. The last stop we're going to make in this virtual tour. It's in the very south, the southernmost state in Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul. And here I have the city of Gramado. Gramado is a mountain resort town in Rio Grande do Sul, and it's influenced by 19th century German settlers. So the town has a Bavarian feel. And it's also known for its Christmas light displays. It's beautiful. So this gave you a good idea, like how it varies, like just the scenario varies quite a bit throughout Brazil. So we're gonna end our virtual tour here. And I'm going, so now that you guys have visited some pretty cool places in Brazil, it's time to get a taste of the Brazilian cuisine, right? So I'm gonna turn the time over to Leticia, who is going to demo how to make the Brazilian lemonade, which is so refreshing, so delicious, and the orange salad.
Let's go, everybody. Ready to cook, ready to try some new and fun way to make some smoothies. This Brazilian lemonade, let me tell you about it. A lemonade, I mean, when I think about lemonade, the first thing that comes to my mind are the kids with their stand here in the United States, and it's the beginning of the entrepreneurial vein in American kids, right? And I love that about the American culture. In Brazil, lemonade means a completely different thing. We go to juice bars, which is something that's ingrained in our veins. And I grew up going to, drinking lemonades and all kinds of exotic juices. And I was very, very happy when about 10 to 15 years ago, this whole culture of smoothies and juices entered the United States. I think it started with Jamba Juice or one of those franchise that put juices on the map, and now it's everywhere. So the Brazilian version of lemonade, it's actually made with the entire lemon, the properties and the oils of the skin. Notice that in a lime, first of all, years ago, we didn't have the yellow. Okay, let's talk about lemon and lime. Here, when we think about lemon, we think about the yellow lemon. In Brazil, we call it Sicilian lemon. We didn't have that. It's been only a few years ago that the yellow lemon came to Brazil. We mostly have the green lemon, which here we call lime. So it should be called limeade, actually, if you think about it, limeade rather than lemonade. But we just kind of like mashed it up. It's easier to say lemonade. In Brazil, we call it limonada suíça because it calls for a little bit of the sweetened condensed milk, which I have here, the metal gold. We're going to use that to give a little bit of the sweetness to the lemonade. So it's very easy to prepare. We are going to pour some, let me see, guys, can you tell me if I can see, okay, I need to move my blender a little bit closer so that is inside my camera. Let me do that.
Yeah, and Leticia, it actually works really well. We can see it on the frontward view too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna just get my measure and we are good. Okay, so I have the lime, not lemon, lime, water, and a little bit of my sweetened condensed milk that I'm gonna put over here. And you can, of course, use honey if you want to, use that as a sweetener. I love with sweetened condensed milk. And if you put just a little bit, it's okay. So we blend it like that. Let's make some real noise. Let's go. And we're gonna strain that. So give me 1 second. That should be good. I got here some ice.
And Leticia, you use the whole lime. You do not peel it, right?
Whole limes.
Okay.
I just cut it out. I cut the ends of it. But yeah, no, the whole thing.
Perfect.
And that's also interesting because if you really compare the skin of the yellow lemon and the green lime, you'll see that there's a lot more bitterness to the yellow, which is, again, I mean, we didn't have yellow lemons in Brazil, but there's a lot less of that bitter part in the green lime. So let me make some buzz here again to make sure that it's really well blended. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we should be able to. I don't know if you can hear me while this is blending, so I might just be talking. Okay, and then this beautiful color comes in. That should be enough for our ice here. So let me have a taste. This we put over here. That I'm gonna pour and here we come with a typical Brazilian lemonade. Oh my God, it is so good. It brings me back to Brazil. So cheers, I hope you make this at home. Feel free to snap a photo. I'd love if you snap a photo, tag me, tag Dairy World Tour, Dairy West, tag everything, because this is really delicious. And I'd love to see you making that. Now, let's make our other dish. We're gonna make an orange salad featured in my cookbook, Latin Superfoods. So very easy to prepare. I have here in the bowl about 1 tablespoon of honey. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of orange juice. I have lemon in my mind and lime in my mind. Now we're going to oranges.
Hey, Leticia.
Yeah.
We had one quick question about the Brazilian lemonade. So Jocelyn asked, do you have any tips to make sure the drink doesn't become bitter over time, or should you typically drink it right away after you make it?
You want to drink it right away. It's good maybe for up to 1 or 2 days, but you really don't, this is not the kind of drink that you can make like way ahead of time, like what we do with the American version, and keep it in the fridge for like a week ahead. It's always good to make it fresh.
Good.
It can get a bit bitter too, right, Leticia? Because it's blended, like the lines are whole.
Yeah.
So it can be a little bit bitter as well. So within the first 20 minutes, I would say that's the best.
Yeah. Then we're going to chop a little bit of the shallots. Now notice, guys, I hold my knife almost at the blade. Don't be afraid to hold your knife close to the blade. If you hold it like here, you really don't have a very good grasp on the knife. You really want to hold it on the blade. And then you go and, you cut it horizontally like that. Make sure that your knife is very well sharpened. There's actually a book called The Sharper the Knife, the Less You Cry, because really when your knife is not sharpened, that's when you cut yourself. So we go like that. And also notice how the angle of the knife is really what matters. You don't want to cut straight. You want to cut either on an angle forward or backwards, but never straight down. So you go just like that. And that's the move. Also very important, the curled fingers. You go like that, and I can talk to you and look how my fingers are just okay, So we're gonna do that. That goes into our vinaigrette, and we add the olive oil in a steady stream. I remember when I went to cooking school for the first time, and I didn't know the vocabulary of the culinary industry and what was emulsification. So I learned I remember my colleagues teaching me, and steady stream, and now here I am, making 1 million vinaigrettes a week. I make my own vinaigrette. I barely buy it, but it's okay. It's okay. I'd rather you eat salad and use store-bought. You don't have to make your own, but this is really easy, as you can see. Then let's cut our oranges. We're going to cut the ends like that. Let me clear this little bit of shallots that I have. I have a little garbage here. We're gonna contour the orange all around. And you see, this is what I was referring to. Do you see how in the orange we have that too? Like the bitter part, the lime doesn't have that. The orange has a lot, the grapefruit, the lemon. So we just cut, and you take all of this white part. I even like to throw a little bit more of this, juice in the vinaigrette. Why not? I love orange juice. And then we just cut it into rounds. About, I would say, 1/4 of an inch. So this is my one orange. I have 2 other here. Any questions so far?
Not yet. We had Bethany made a comment. She said her dad lived in Brazil for a number of years, and so she grew up on this lemonade, and finally she understands where he learned it from.
Excellent. I'm glad. Okay, so now we are going to arrange that on a platter. Is this in? Yes, this is inside the our camera here. I got 2 camera guys. I have one camera looking here, as you can see, and one camera. I love this setup. So let's arrange our oranges. You want to put it kind of like sort of in an attractive way,
Leticia, Michelle asked, do you ever segment the oranges versus slice them?
You can. Absolutely. You can do that.
And Katie said your enthusiasm is an extra special ingredient in this recipe.
Oh, thank you so much. I love to hear that. Well, it's really a passion, it goes back to the beginning of our conversation today. What is food? What is the meaning of food? And this is really my passion. So now we are going to cut a little bit. Let me see if you can see that. I want to make sure that it's inside this camera. We're going to chop a little bit of this cilantro. You don't have to use cilantro. I know that there's a lot of people that have a thing against it. So you can use parsley, you can use dill, and there goes my fingers again. Very curled, and then just chop it up. And we are going to drizzle our vinaigrette into our, let me see how it's like. Yeah, it looks beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It looks in the camera. Okay, we're gonna do that. We're gonna season with a little bit of salt and pepper. I know that's the thing about this salad. It's like, you're gonna put salt and pepper here? Yes. This is a very different salad. And that's what I try to do in my cookbook, Latin Superfoods. I use a lot of regular, ordinary ingredients like orange and make it into this orange salad. I make a salad out of a celery. I mean, celery, people think that celery is the most boring ingredient ever. And then I have this amazing, delicious salad with celery and mint and cheese and a vinaigrette. And all of a sudden, ordinary ingredients like orange, like salad, like cucumber, and you dress it around. You take a little bit of feta cheese. We have here the feta cheese from Lighthouse, and it tastes delicious. You put it over your salad, and all of a sudden, look at that. Look how beautiful a simple salad can become, and healthy. And that's too another very important part of what we're talking here.
Leticia, Michelle asked, what are your favorite dishes to serve with this or to complement it?
I usually serve this as an appetizer. You can serve this with a piece of, for example, if you want to make that as part of the main course, how about a piece of fish, just grilled fish, or grilled chicken? You can go with a protein, you can go, it really depends. It's very, very versatile. But I love to serve this also with like a buffet. If I'm having, people over, this will be one of the salads. It's what you make of it, how you put it together, but look at that. Then we have feta cheese, we have pumpkin seeds. Again, you don't need to use pumpkin seeds. Do you have pistachios at home? Do you have almonds? Use that. You don't like cilantro? Yeah, use Dill, we talked about that. You use dill, we talked about parsley, you can do substitutions, and that's the whole thing about, knowing how to cook. You can look at a recipe and say, okay, I don't have pumpkin seeds, but I have pistachios at home. Why do I need it? When you look at a recipe, you can start thinking about what you have, thinking about the substitutions, and thinking about how your family is going to like, because this is all about, creating a health environment. I think that in cooking classes, what's so lovely about cooking classes is it's not just about learning how to make this recipe. It's more about empowering yourself to go into the kitchen, create meals that are going to put a destiny, and that destiny is called health. Because when you cook at home, you have control of what goes inside your body. So you are creating a healthy environment for yourself and for your family. I mean, what can be more important than that? So there we have it. Let's try our salad with orange vinaigrette.
Sheila, we had another question come in. So Sheila is wondering if you want to have a little fun with the Brazilian lemonade and make it into a cocktail, would you add rum? Do they ever do that in Brazil?
Yes, of course, absolutely. Well, I cannot talk about Brazilian food. I'm actually, Aryane, I'm surprised that we came all this way, all this far in this demo, and we didn't talk about caipirinha. Oh my God.
Oh, it's coming up. Don't worry, it's coming up.
Okay. Right. It's the cocktail, the classic cocktail in Brazil. And it's lime mashed with sugar. And here's, my husband just gave me a bottle of caipirinha. We have it here, and it's like, woo, 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 and it's so good. Basically, it's lime mashed with sugar. And yes, you can add rum. If you don't have the cachaça, just add, some people add vodka, some people add rum. That's totally fine. That's one of the exports that Brazil was able to put on the menu. Like, you go anywhere in the world right now and you find caipirinha on the cocktail menu.
Delicious.
You gotta make this. It's so good. Wonderful.
Leticia, let's see, we had another, where did it go? Somebody, I forget who asked it. Somebody asked though, are oranges plentiful in Brazil?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God, oranges are huge in Brazil. We have a wide variety. Over here in the United States, I'm based in Connecticut. In this area, I get a lot of oranges from Florida, the navel oranges, the Cara oranges, but oranges are very interchangeable. You don't have to stick to one type. Pretty much for this recipe, you can use any type of orange. Sometimes I buy a variety of orange that it's not this yellowish orangey, if I can refer to that color. I see some oranges that are a little bit more whitish, and the flavor is not that sweet. But tangerine is also another fruit that you could, use for this recipe. So again, the recipes are just to, ignite your creativity in the kitchen.
All right. Well, Leticia, you just bring an amazing energy. This is so much fun. So many people are saying how much fun they're having watching you cook and how you're inspiring them to go home and cook. And a couple people made the orange salad and they love it. So
it is my mission of joy and love to inspire people to go to their kitchens, feel comfortable in their kitchens, explore, experiment, buy new knives, buy pots and pans, buy ingredients that you've never tried before. And don't be afraid to just try. Just the other day, look at this. Just the other day, my husband went to the store and he bought this batata. Can you see here? I
Yeah.
have never with this one. And all, let's try. Maybe I'm gonna roast, I'm gonna peel. But if you know the techniques, there's grilling, there's braising, there's sauteing, and there's frying, and there's pan searing. The techniques are pretty much the same. I can tell that this is good for roasting. You could also boil, but once you know the technique, you can get into any ingredient and just experiment.
Awesome. Leticia, thank you so much. This was amazing. I can only imagine how fresh your kitchen smells right now.
Oh my God, it smells so good, guys. I'll keep taking bites of this delicious orange salad.
Lucky. Okay, so here comes the second part of my presentation. All right, and we're going to talk about typical daily meals in Brazil. Feel free to chime in. Okay, Leticia? All right, so here we have breakfast, and this picture, I really liked this picture because I feel like it depicts really well Brazilian breakfast. So as you can see right at the center of the picture, we have the French bread. It's a must-have there, and we love to eat French bread with butter or cold cuts, as you can see down below, like sliced ham and cheese. We also have queso branco, right? And right next to it, we have the Brazilian cheese bread that you guys received the recipe card included in the product box. That I shared that recipe with you guys, and juices, milk, coffee, yogurt. Liquid yogurt is very common in Brazil too, and fruits. Okay, coffee cakes as well. It's very common during, for breakfast. All right, and here we have some typical dairy products in Brazil, since I mentioned some cold cuts and some dairy products for breakfast, like queijo branco, but also we have prato cheese, and mozzarella cheese. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about prato cheese, just to give you guys an idea, how it looks like, but it's pretty much like a mild cheddar cheese.
And also, Aryane,
yeah,
I want to mention that, I want to compliment that your region of Minas Gerais is the dairy center in Brazil. Just like here, right? We have your Dairy West in Brazil. Minas Gerais is really the dairy capital.
That's true. Yeah. In fact, over a quarter of Brazil's agricultural property, so about like more than 1 million, are involved in milk production. It's a huge thing there. And there is the sector with the sixth highest gross value in Brazilian agriculture, and around 80% of dairy farmers are smallholders. And Brazil is the 4th largest dairy producer in the world. So yeah, it's very, very present in our cuisine. And so here we have queijo branco. That's the one that I put here in the picture to show you guys. And prato cheese, which is a very mild type, similar to cheddar cheese, mozzarella, provolone, parmesan cheese, all of them are really, really common there. Requeijão, I don't know if anyone have heard of this before. It's delicious. Some people say, oh, it's similar to cream cheese. I don't think it's very similar. It's very, very creamy, and it's not, it's very soft. It's a very soft cheese spread. It's not, because cream cheese is a little bit firmer than requeijão. And liquid yogurt, as I mentioned. So we have the regular yogurt, and liquid yogurt is also very common. All right, so lunch is our main meal in Brazil. So to this day, it's still very common to see businesses closing during lunchtime, and then coming back to resume, but because lunch is the main meal. And so we have the typical structure of lunch and also dinner is rice and beans, as I have in this photo here for you guys, some type of meat, and salad, so, or vegetables. Roots as well, they are very common, such as cassava or yuca, carrots and sweet potatoes, and beets, or tubers such as potatoes. So it varies quite a bit, but lunch and dinner, they're usually like that. And dinner is a late meal. So it's not like here in the US around, 6 p.m. It's usually later than that. Here, I just wanted to make sure that I would add a photo of yuca root for you guys. So here it's deep fried, which is a very, very common appetizer served in Brazil, usually with beer. It's delicious, absolutely delicious. And the Brazilian cheese bread uses the yuca flour. I mean, not the yuca flour, it's tapioca that comes from yuca. It's not the yuca flour. But it's tapioca.
Originated in your state of Minas Gerais.
Yes.
For Minas.
For the bread. That is true. And so here I could not left finger foods out because it's a huge one there too. So usually Americans who visit Brazil, they just fell in love with coxinha, which is the chicken filled finger food that is deep fried. It's delicious, and sometimes they add requeijão, that very soft cheese, with the chicken, so it melts. It's absolutely delicious. And so it's filled with a variety of cheese, such as Parmesan, provolone, mozzarella, and requeijão, like I said. And here, so you guys received a recipe card. So if you'd like to give it a try, I highly recommend it. It's a delicious snack that you can easily make, and you can also freeze the ones that you before baking, right? You can freeze them for later, and it tastes so good. It's a really good snack.
I think, Aryane, and you tell me if you agree with that, it is the freezing capability of the pão de queijo, the cheese bread, that allowed it to become as commercialized as it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. And so just another thing that is good to point out to you all is that, like, here we have like mozzarella and Parmesan cheese. And typically it's made with the queijo branco, the queso blanco that I showed in that previous picture. It's the aged queso blanco, right? That you shred, and then it's part of the dough. And then honestly, you can add any type of cheese, because the gooey texture comes from the tapioca flour. Right, Leticia?
Yeah. And it's that you can change the cheese, but it's the tapioca flour that gives the gooey characteristics.
Yeah. And it's gluten-free for those who have gluten-free. Yeah. All right, so just a few traditional beverages. It's very common to walk the streets, and then you see people selling, coconut water. They just cut it open for you and then just pour some coconut water, fresh coconut water for you. Fruit juices are also very common. That includes the Brazilian lemonade. And sugarcane juice is a very common one as well. And a classic combo, like if you go to a farmer's market down there in Brazil, most likely you're going to find a stand that is going to sell sugarcane juice with pastel, which is empanada, right? So yeah, it's delicious. And the fermented sugarcane juice is the cachaça, that is
there you are.
caipirinha. So as we call it, like the Brazilian whiskey or tequila, right? So like Leticia explained, it's basically cachaça, the fermented sugarcane juice with lime and sugar and ice, and then you just shake it, and that's how caipirinha is made. And it's sold all over the country. And not just the country, right?
What's that?
Not just in Brazil anymore.
No, now it's really international, thank goodness. But, right? But the difference between rum and cachaça, they both come from fermented sugar cane, but the rum comes from the molasses of the sugar cane, and the cachaça comes from sugarcane juices. That's the difference.
Yeah, thank you. So the next one that many of you probably know, Guaraná, right? So this soda that is very famous, not only in Brazil, even here in the US, you can find these like in regular, stores. So it's a Brazilian, so Guaraná is a Brazilian plant native to the Amazon basin. A mature Guaraná fruit is about the size of a coffee berry, and it resembles the human eye. It's very funny. The next one, which is also very traditional beverage in Brazil, is vitamina de frutas, which is basically like just shakes, just milk blended with fruits. And in this picture, I have a papaya shake. So basically papaya milk and sugar to taste. And we do that like with other fruits too, like bananas, strawberries, mango. It's delicious. Avocado, because I don't know if you guys know, avocado for us in Brazil, it's a fruit, right? So for us, it's like a sweet food to have. It's not savory like here in the US. So guacamole is not really a thing for us there. And so we use that like in sweet dishes and beverages. And it's very creamy. So if you'd like to give it a try sometime, I highly recommend it. It's delicious.
In fact, in my cookbook, I added a dessert with avocado.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's an avocado creme brulee. So you beat sweetened condensed milk and avocado in a food processor, you spread it over, add a little bit of sugar, burn it, and that's your creme brulee. It's so delicious.
Oh, I can imagine. And the last one, chimarrão, which is the favorite drink in the southernmost state of Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul, right? The gauchos, so they love it. And it's a tea made with the mate herb. All right, guys, so I'd like to briefly talk about the Brazilian dietary guidelines. They, I know I'm biased to say, but they are pretty cool. And it's the second and latest edition, came out in 2014, and it promotes a healthy relationship with food, taking into account not only environmental and human well-being, but also political and social cultural life. So it's pretty cool. The golden rule of the Brazilian dietary guideline is always prefer fresh or minimally processed foods and culinary preparations instead of ultra-processed foods. And I'm a big fan of the Brazilian dietary guideline because it's not prescriptive. So it doesn't suggest dieting at all, and doesn't get into specifics of portion sizes and how much food would be considered like healthy, because it takes into account that it varies from person to person. So it's not prescriptive. And this aligns with the approach that I take in my work as well, in my nutrition counseling. So I really love it. So here in this picture, basically, it just depicts the golden rule, that like always prefer fresh or minimally processed foods and culinary preparations instead of ultra processed foods. So as you can see here, just like the bulk of it, most of it would be fresh foods, and then just a little bit of highly processed foods. All right, so just to close our presentation, I'd love to, if you guys are not hungry yet, you're gonna be really hungry right now. We're gonna show some typical Brazilian dishes, traditional Brazilian dishes real quick before we end this presentation. And of course, the famous bean stew called feijoada. So basically bean stew with beef and pork, and it's served with sauteed collard greens, rice, and oranges as well. And also yuca, like toasted yuca flour, just for some texture, for some crunchiness. It's delicious. And here we have churrasco, arroz piemontese.
Right, these dishes, especially the churrasco and the feijoada, they are really gastronomic events in Brazil. We kind of like work the entire week around going to a feijoada on a Saturday or going to a churrascaria on a Sunday, and it's a big meal with you know, a very Epicurean, you know, exercise in eating and culture too.
That's so true. And the arroz piemontese recipe, we included the recipe card in the product box as well. So
yeah, arroz piemontese, I want to talk about that recipe because it's really a recipe that I grew up, and it has a very Italian name, but it's really a very Brazilian recipe. Basically, imagine it's a cousin of the mac and cheese. With the mac and cheese, what we do is you have cooked pasta and you make a sauce with cheddar cheese, right? And then you mix the two, then you have your mac and cheese. Some people put a little bit of breadcrumbs on top and put it in the oven. The rice is a great recipe for when you have leftover rice and you don't know what to do with it. So you make the sauce. The sauce is not quite the same as the one we use with mac and cheese. We don't use flour. So it's just heavy cream, mozzarella, and parmigiano. And then you mix it with the rice, and then you have arroz piemontese. And the name comes because it started in Rio, and it was with a tapas bar in which the chef was from Italy, and he named it Piemontese. That's the origin of the name.
Love it. So the next one is moqueca de peixe, or fish stew. It's very common, like for fish and seafood in general, and typically it's made with coconut milk. And here you guys can see the soapstone pots, right? So look how pretty they are. It's rustic, but it's very chic too. So it's amazing. I just love how they look, how the dishes look in those pots.
Yeah, I love all kinds of stone pots and clay pots. They add a certain characteristic, right, to the dish.
Yeah, definitely. So the next one, acarajé, which is a type of fritter made from black-eyed peas. And the dish is traditionally found in the state of Bahia, in the Northeast, especially in the city of Salvador. And it's very, very spicy. And here we have the famous acai bowls. Now we can find them everywhere here in the US. So acai is super rich in antioxidants, and acai palms are common along the Amazon River estuary and are cultivated on floodplains, especially in the state of Pará, a state in the very north of Brazil. All right, so here we have some coconut macaroons, like delicious and very, very typical in Brazil. And pudim de leite flan here, right? Which is a custard dessert with a layer of clear caramel sauce. And just to wrap up, we have brigadeiro, the chocolate truffles, that you guys also have a recipe that I shared with you all. And hopefully you're gonna give it a try. It's really simple to make and it's delicious. And you can change to like have different sprinkles on top too. All right, so as we get to the end of the presentation, I'd love to share a few links here with you guys if you'd like to explore a little bit more about the dietary guidelines for Brazilian adults. This link here, the second link there, it's straight from the Brazilian government, so the health department, so it's in Portuguese, but down below the very last link is it's a paper when they talk about, they compared actually the dietary guidelines of different countries, and Brazil included, and they talk about really good things about the Brazilian dietary guidelines. All right, so that was it. And here at this very last slide, we have our contact information. You guys, if you'd like to contact me directly, feel free to send me an email at aryane@positive-nutrition.com. I'm also on Instagram at aryaneoar.rd, and positive-nutrition.com is the website. And Leticia, would you like to tell a little bit about your contact info?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me very easily. I am all over the internet. My website is right there, chefleticia.com. You can find my books. It's never too early to think about the holidays. If you want a signed book, get in touch with me. The books are available also anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I'm also on Instagram. So yes, and if you cook the recipes, if you have any questions about the recipes we did today or any other recipes or substitutions, feel free to get in touch. It's Leticia@chefleticia.com. The email is right there.
Awesome, thank you.
Leticia and Aryane, this was a treat getting to spend the last hour with both of you. It was so much fun. All the comments in the chat are saying how wonderful this was. Everyone's thanking you for joining us today. We are at 1:15, so I'm going to ask one question that's going to be for both of you, and it's just a quick answer. And then for everyone that can stay on for just a minute longer, we're going to announce the winner of the raffle. But one question to both of you. If you had to suggest one place for someone that is visiting Brazil for the first time, where would you suggest they visit?
Oh, that's a tough one. A really tough question.
I have the answer. Rio.
Rio. I'm gonna say Ouro Preto. But honestly, Fernando de Noronha is amazing. Those islands. Yes. And everybody talk about them like worldwide, you know, so that's definitely, like, it was so hard to select, like, okay, I just have a few minutes to talk about a few things, you know, so it was really hard to select just a few places because there's just so much to do and to visit there.
Well, that's the answer. We have to go to both.
Yeah.
We can't choose one. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you so, so much. And I'm going to bring up our raffle. So our giveaway today includes Chef Leticia's book, My Rio de Janeiro Cookbook, a kitchen sieve set. So this is what Leticia used when she was making the Brazilian lemonade, a personal blender. So if you want to make the lemonade in just a single serve, you can make it for yourself. And then Aryane, if you look at her video, the Brazilian soapstone pot that she brought back from Brazil, which was just
so cute. Look at this.
Absolutely amazing. And so our winner for today is Sheila Cry. So Sheila, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining today. We're gonna get a hold of you after the episode.
Hey, Sheila.
Yes.
Awesome.
We'll send you your gift. And then, you guys, we are so excited. We have episode 5 coming up in October. So we hope to see everyone on October 27th from 12 to 1:15 p.m. Mountain Time. And we're going to India. And so our 2 guest speakers, Archana Mund and Vandana Sheth, will be, giving us the tour and the exploration of India's cuisine and culture. And we have a teaser video for you from one of our speakers. Have a great day, everyone. See you next time.
Hi, this is Vandana Sheth. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, diabetes care and education specialist, and author of My Indian Table, Quick and Tasty Vegetarian Recipes. I live in Los Angeles and am of Indian origin. I can't wait to take you on a virtual tour to learn all about the food, culture, and history of India. So pack your virtual bags and join me in October to learn about India.